Talks about compensation for migrant families separated under the Trump administration's immigration policies are over. CBS News has learned the Justice Department was negotiating settlements with them, but now it looks like they will have their day in court. Camilo Montoya-Galvez is following this story for us. I'm glad that you're here this morning. Camilo, I remember there was these splashy headlines, the Biden administration is going to pay migrants, and there was sort of a big figure thrown around, tens of thousands of dollars. But now it seems like that's not happening. Why did these talks end?
Yes, good morning, Anne-Marie. Context is critically important here. We know that many migrant families who were separated near the U.S.-Mexico border during the Trump administration filed lawsuits against the government seeking damages because of the psychological trauma that they argue was inflicted on them by the government because of these separations. We know that the Biden administration earlier this year agreed to negotiate with the lawyers representing these families to try to reach a settlement to settle all of these different cases. But then in October, as you mentioned, reports surfaced indicating that the administration was considering offering as many as $450,000 per separated family members as part of a potential settlement. That was one of the figures that was discussed in the talks, according to a person familiar with the matter. And that report prompted a lot of criticism and outcry, especially from congressional Republicans who argued that the government should not be in the business, Anne-Marie, of paying people who cross the U.S.-Mexico border without legal permission. And that criticism now we know has seemed to derail these talks, which officially collapsed yesterday. And lawyers representing these families certainly think that politics influenced these negotiations and prompted the Biden administration to end them.
So what are the lawyers representing the migrant families saying about this?
Yeah, well, one of the lawyers in one of the cases told me that the Biden administration is simply walking away from one of its main campaign promises to offer some type of relief to these families who were separated under a policy that President Biden and his top officials have denounced as cruel and inhumane, and they believe that the Biden administration, again, is being influenced by congressional Republicans. We know that the Justice Department says that they still could settle some of these cases on an individual level, but the fact that no global settlements will be reached could be detrimental to some families who don't have lawyers, Anne-Marie, and who won't be able to argue in court that they are eligible for monetary compensation.
You know, Camilo, I'm just curious about what they were hoping to get out of these negotiations. It's a difficult thing, I imagine, to determine what would make a party whole after being separated at the border. So when you spoke to the lawyers, what was their hope would be the outcome? Kind of, I guess I'm asking about the dollar figure, but beyond the dollar figure.
Yeah, that's a critical question. I think there is widespread consensus among many of the lawyers that the government really can effectively provide enough relief to these families because the trauma that was inflicted on them is permanent. And I actually want to read you a passage from a recent study by a group of clinicians, if you would allow me, Anne-Marie. They found that, and I quote, in almost every case encountered, expert evaluators noted that trauma suffered by the parent and the children were causing significant distress and ongoing functional impairment, requiring further intervention and robust therapeutic support, end quote. And these clinicians, Anne-Marie, actually issued recommendations for the government to issue reparations to these families. And one of those reparations, they said, could be monetary compensation. So there is some consensus among these lawyers, but also medical experts, that these families deserve some type of reparation, including financial compensation.
After the Trump administration separated thousands of children from their families, the Biden administration said that they were going to create a task force to reunite them because there was some confusion about where some of these children were, where the parents were after they were deported. How are those efforts going?
Yeah, so we know that President Biden's task force to reunite families has facilitated the U.S.-based reunifications of more than 80 families. Unlike the Trump administration, the Biden administration is allowing these families to reunite here on American soil because many migrant parents were deported without their children after being separated from them, and that has caused prolonged separations. We know that the task force has also identified an additional 300 children who are in the process of being reunited with their parents here in the U.S., but lawyers believe that hundreds of other families could still be separated, and one of the complicating factors in reuniting them, Anne-Marie, has been the pandemic, but also the fact that the government did not keep adequate records in place during the Trump administration to facilitate these reunifications. The parents were sent to one government agency, and the children were sent to another agency, and there was never any plan in place to reunite them.
Listen, before I let you go, I got to ask you about something else. This all morning long, we've been talking about the Build Back Better plan. Now, it's probably not going to be passed before Christmas. But there was another hiccup for the Biden administration. The Senate parliamentarian weighed in on the Build Back Better plan and determined that some elements of the social spending bill that had to do with immigration could not stay in the bill. That would give work permits to undocumented immigrants and other issues. Can you talk a little bit about what's been kicked out of the Build Back Better plan and whether or not there are any other immigration measures, out there at play?
Yeah, this latest guidance by the Senate parliamentarian is a painful setback for Democrats, but also the immigrants who were hoping to benefit from this plan. We know that this latest proposal would have offered work permits and temporary protections from deportation to an estimated 7 million undocumented immigrants here in the U.S. And this is the third time that the Senate parliamentarian has ruled against a provision that Democrats hope to pass through the social spending legislation. She previously ruled against two other plans that would have allowed undocumented immigrants to get green card status, and now she has ruled also against this more limited plan that would have just allowed them to get work authorization and a temporary protection from deportation. This obviously has angered advocates for immigrants who are actually calling on Senate Democrats to disregard the parliamentarian's advice and guidance and to move forward with the pathway to U.S. citizenship for the country's estimated 11 million undocumented immigrants. But obviously it is very unclear, Anne-Marie, whether the necessary number of Democrats will move to overrule her, because for some of them, including the centrists like Senator Joe Manchin, that is a controversial maneuver.
Yep, and we know Joe Manchin has had a whole lot of different problems with the legislation. Camilo, thank you very much.
Thanks, Anne-Marie.
So you can read Camilo's piece and all of his original reporting on immigration. It's fantastic by visiting cbsnews.com.